Hello, welcome to the Warp Factor. I'm Marshall,
I'm Ian.
and we wanted to do a special to talk about some sci-fi, some non-Star Trek related. Although one could say that what we're going to talk about might have some tie-ins with Star Trek, but probably more Star Wars. So we're going to talk about Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Yeah.
So Ian and I went and saw this. When did we see it? Opening day, right? On that Thursday?
Yeah, it was Thursday. Midnight showing.
But it was a
It was
Thursday at like
Thursday at
7.
7 p.m. Yeah.
So what did you think of this? It's kind of gotten not.
I
good.
was really excited to see it. I'm a big Fifth Element fan and was really looking forward to seeing Valerian and Laureline on the big screen, especially with the previews that they had been advertising for it for quite a while. So was really excited. I was quite excited to see what they were going to come up with. It looked visually stunning.
Yeah, and so the source material for anyone who's not familiar is the Valerian universe is based on a comic book from 1967. And so a lot of
Out of France.
French artist came up with this, and it was basically utilized by a lot of more modern style science fiction. So that's been credited as being the inspiration.
Yeah, it was the inspiration for the Fifth Element, and the reason they made the Fifth Element was because they couldn't do Valerian and Laureline at that time. The technology hadn't quite caught up to what they needed for that to happen. So a lot of what was based on for the Fifth Element came out of that comic, that graphic novel, graphic albums as they call it.
Right. So I'm not familiar with the actual comic itself, but
I've read a few.
I heard people when we were exiting the theater saying that the movie was a lot like the comic.
Yeah, it had a lot of, it did have some humor. It had some crazy characters and different beings and races that were really really interesting. So
I think they say that there was like 3,000 or 300,000 species on Alpha.
that could be
Is that right?
that could be it.
There was a lot of really awesome visuals in this film. Obviously, it's reminiscent of Fifth Element in that regard and how it was done stylistically, I think. Although it's kind of like a mix between that and like Avatar a little bit. Reminds me of Avatar.
Yeah, I think it did have some thought or some, what do I want to say? It kind of alluded to that, but it was visually stunning. There was some humor involved, and overall it was entertaining. It just didn't quite hit the mark that I was hoping to had seen, or at least all the humor that we had come to love and enjoy out of Fifth Element.
It seemed like some of the humor was just not very funny, or there's like an obvious part where you're supposed to laugh and no one in the theater laughed. Although there was a couple times where I think that we got some of the humor that some of the other people in there didn't get.
Yeah.
Where you and I were laughing and everyone else was dead silent. So that's kind of awkward.
I think maybe that was the geek in us.
Yeah. So just doing some looking on the internet here, I can see, this one. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, according to Box Office Mojo. The production budget, $177.2 million,
Wow.
and domestic totals so far is only $25 million.
Ouch.
Which is freaking terrible. Worldwide, looks like they don't have any numbers for any of the foreign stuff. I don't. Has it released on? Because my guess is the folks in France are probably more familiar with the source material, and so it will probably do pretty good overseas, is my guess.
Yeah, what's it been out of at least a week?
Like
right?
a week, yeah.
It's been out a week.
Yeah, because we saw it not this last Thursday, but the Thursday before.
Right. Yeah, I think
the 21st. I think
to me it really felt like it was going like it was the beginning of a story. My fear, I really wanted to see more of what they're going to do next. My fear is they've spent so much money,
and it's
kind of tanked. It's not made up what it put out.
And you have to. I think rule of thumb is you have to almost double what the production budget is to be considered successful.
But this is an independent film as well. I mean, it's not using a large production company to do it. So they may break the rules and spend the money again and make another one.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I don't know. A lot of people have $500 million lying around to make 2 movies like this. But you never know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think for me, one of the biggest problems was the male lead.
Right.
I think he was not up to par. The girl, what was her name?
Laureline.
No, I mean the. You know her, the actress?
I don't.
She was in Suicide Squad
as the witch.
The witch lady. She's very good.
Yeah, she did really well, but their chemistry together wasn't really there. His role was very forced. It just didn't seem right.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, the guy's not a bad actor. It's not what I'm saying. I just don't think he fit what Valerian is supposed to be, if that makes sense. Valerian's supposed to be this like badass cop, basically. And,
he's very full of He's very full of himself. He's very good at what he does.
And just the demeanor of I don't know how to explain it. He just seemed like it was a bad casting job. Like they didn't cast the right person.
I think they did pull off showing him being head over heels about Laureline.
Yeah, that's
I think
apparent.
they did. In the comics that does show, and they were able to pull that off, but the chemistry again just wasn't quite there. And I think his acting, I really would like to see a little bit better writing too. I mean, we're talking the same person that did Fifth Element, and I believe he wrote or at least did the screenplay for that as well.
Wasn't there kind of a nod in there with the hat?
The hat. Oh, right.
With the guy with the hat, he's like nice
hat.
It looked like it was the background to the wall.
Yeah, his hat had a flat top.
Yeah,
and one of the
military guys.
Yeah,
right?
one of the military guys.
Anyway, I think that was kind of a visual nod to.
I think so too.
Fifth Element.
There must have been more as well. I'd have to go back and really look at everything and check it out.
So I mean, I'm not a huge fan of like the Avatar films, although they do look really nice. But the main kind of aliens that they focus on in this film kind of remind me of the Avatar people a little bit. Although, to me, all the aliens in this movie, the main aliens look like a bunch of Jessica Albas, like a bunch of bald Jessica Albas.
Well, they had a little bit of their race is very difficult to tell the difference between a male and female. They're very
and they have no nipples on their tits.
Well, maybe they have another way.
I don't know.
We're talking about aliens.
What's the point of boobs if you can't have nipples? I mean,
well, maybe that wasn't their skin. Maybe that was their clothing of some sort.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt that.
The other aliens that they had, besides the main alien characters that they had, were very, very interesting. They did
a great job.
They did.
Those little duck. Well, they're not ducks, but the little 3 guys.
They look like ducks. They kind of reminded me of
those are
platypus.
They're kind of Ferengis. They remind me of the Ferengis.
They remind you of the Ferengis?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Ferengi, because they're all greed and they're always trying to negotiate shit. Like if you have information, they'll totally like charge you bars of platinum, right?
Yeah.
So that's how those guys were, which I thought, and they looked cool. But I saw something, and they're supposedly a cross between an elephant, a bat, and a monkey.
Well,
but they kind of come off as almost like a platypus duck kind of thing with bat wings. It's kind of, I don't know. But
especially the way they walk. Yeah, they kind of have a waddle to them.
And I guess their brains are interconnected, so they kind of think as one.
Right.
guess.
It's almost kind of like they're a raid drive of each other.
They're redundant backups.
If you kill one of them, all the information's lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. The visuals were amazing.
Yeah.
It was just fabulous, and it was very reading through the original graphic albums. The movie follows along. It doesn't really follow the story per se, but it follows the feel of that graphic album.
And the thing is they seem a little young to be as professional as they were in the movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I think a little bit older on the casting for those two might have helped a little bit.
It might have. I think they were just trying to appeal to maybe a younger audience.
I think so too, and it didn't seem to pan out.
which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I mean, your audience is going to be people like us, usually fans of the Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element.
And just sci-fi in general.
Right.
I'll see almost any sci-fi flick that comes out, to be honest with you, if it looks halfway decent. And this one, because it had the connection with the Fifth Element, I was pretty excited for it. And I was concerned once I saw some other previews, but I have to say that it was better than I was expecting, but worse than I hoped. If that makes sense.
I'd have to agree with you. It was. I don't know if it would be enough for me to go and see it in the theater more than once.
No.
I'd probably wait for it to come out on video.
Yeah, I already pre-ordered mine on Xbox.
I definitely
video.
would want to watch it again in that aspect, but I don't think I'm going to pay another $13 to $20 to go see it again.
No,
so
it's not worth. I mean, go see it if you're on the fence. I would say go see it. It's not a terrible movie.
I agree. It's entertaining by far.
And I think it's getting more negativity than what it deserves, in my opinion.
And I think that's because a lot of people had expectations of the Fifth Element with it. And
that's the problem when you try and do something where you tie it. But visually, it's Fifth Element / Avatar. Where the visuals come from. But story, obviously, it's not Fifth Element at all. So
yeah,
other than it's in the future.
Yeah, it did have an Avatar type feel to it. I also felt a little bit of Star Wars in it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially on the station.
Well, and I think there's like some aspects
the way the commanders were dressed is very Star Wars esque, almost military looking. So.
Well, and I believe that some of that might have inspired Star Wars.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I think maybe that's why I have that feel with that. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
So yeah, overall, I would give it probably a C. Just me personally.
Yeah, I'd probably be about a B-. B.
Okay, so you're a little higher than me.
Yeah, I liked it for its entertainment value. I really want to see something better. I want to see something better on a sequel, which I don't know will happen.
25 million worldwide so far. Not gonna happen with that.
I don't. And if
I'm sorry. I mean, if the production budget was way less than what it was, you could probably see that.
If they go with a different male actor, which I mean, if they go with
they'd almost have to do a reboot already and replace it.
I just don't know if that's gonna happen.
Well, I don't know. He could find the role. Like, I just don't think that he did accomplish that in the first film. And maybe I'm completely missing it. Maybe he is exactly what he's supposed to be, but the way, I don't know. Maybe there's something else going on. I don't know. Because I'm not super. It didn't. And I'm not familiar with the Valerian stories really at all, other than what I've heard and before I went and saw this film, which was not a whole lot. Right. So maybe he's doing the right thing and something else wrong. But I had
read some, but I didn't read that many of them. So
from what I understand, him and what's her name, Laureline are space cops basically, and they're badass. Like, She came off as badass. He came off as not really that badass.
There were times when they tried to force it. They tried to make it like he was,
like he was badass,
like he was even better than her. But
no, she outshined him.
Yeah, she did. In many ways than one.
When the movie's named after your character and you're not, the center of attention.
Which is weird because that the albums are called Valerian and Laureline,
right?
And then whatever they're doing at that moment. In this case, it was.
Well, and the City of a Thousand Planets that's a real comic.
Oh well, it's not the city; it's the Empire of a Thousand Planets is the name of the comic itself.
Oh, okay.
So, but they have so many different albums, and I'm still trying to learn.
Do you have Ian is an avid comic book collector. He showed me his pictures of the boxes in which he owns of comics. Do you have any of the Valerian comics?
Not in print form. I have them in digital.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if they have really any end or beginning, like where to start. They just seem like independent,
like one-off stories.
One-off stories, and there's been several publishing companies that have translated them into English, and they came out at different times, and the volumes or the albums that they brought out came out in different ways. So
it's kind of like a Fox with Firefly. Let's put the
X-Men.
show out of order.
Yeah,
or X-Men makes no sense. Don't even get me started.
And try to throw in Days of Future Past to try to fix the timeline, but make it worse.
It's a mess. That's a whole other show, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So Valerian, decent film, not the greatest. I'm sad that it didn't do better because it would have been nice to see some sequels, but that's likely not going to happen. So disappointing in that regard.
And they could. I don't think it's going to be right away.
If you want to start a Kickstarter for Valerian 2, The City of a Thousand Planets Do-Over.
Well, they could always make, like you said, they could just do a different album, and I think it would be perfect.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's going to happen right away, and, I really wanted to see, I don't know if I wanted to see a sequel to Fifth Element, but... That would have been
There's no reason. Some of these movies, okay, are done well as a standalone thing.
Right.
Just leave it. Just leave it like that. This is what I think, and you might hate me for this, but I think this is ultimately going to be what kills Star Wars because
they're going to beat it to death.
They've already started. First we had the 3 atrocious prequels that came out, which were terrible. Then, they redigitized all the...
Well, we talked about that.
I know,
They are terrible, but they have elements in them that really, the Star Wars universe can't really do without. Let's talk about Darth Maul,
Yeah.
Darth Maul was in the prequels.
Do we need a movie about him? They started in episode 4. So they didn't even start at 1, right?
Well, no.
So they started when all the shit went down.
Yeah, it started right in the middle.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So, and now we've got, and sorry, this is taking a tangent from Valerian a little bit, but they've splintered off and they're starting to do individual stories, like they got the Han Solo movie.
I've actually really enjoyed them.
The Rogue One.
I think if they go beyond, what they already have planned, which is, 7, 8, 9, and then the ones in between, then you might start beating a dead horse. But
it's not Marvel, where you have this is what's happened is a lot of movie studios and stuff have seen how Marvel has been super successful with their franchise and the cinematic universe of the Marvel comic book characters. The problem is that the way Marvel has done this, and the characters that they have rich histories. A lot of people know them and love them, and they can each have an individual movie. And then every now and then you have a massive blockbuster with all of them in there, right? Like the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really do that with fucking Star Wars.
Sure you can.
No.
Sure you can.
I disagree.
I do agree that they've beaten Marvel to death. With that said, I'm still excited to see what's coming up. But they've made, not only they've made the movies, the Avengers and Iron Man and all these blockbuster movies, but they've also made kind of subpar Netflix shows.
Yeah, some of the Netflix stuff's not.
We're talking Daredevil. We're talking
Daredevil season 1 was the shit, but what was the other one? The season 2 wasn't that great, I didn't think. And then the Iron Fist, I watched that one, which was okay. The Luke Cage was. They're just
Well, and they're coming out with the Defenders next, which is all of them combined.
Right, all the B-list Marvel characters.
They're milking that cash cow, and I think people are going to start getting tired of that.
Well, you can see it. I guarantee. A lot of the shows on Netflix are not as popular.
Right. Well, and the shows, they're not. They're okay.
Yeah, they're decent, but they're not like Star Trek Next Generation.
Science fiction I don't know about
television episodic science fiction. Star Trek kind of invented that.
I still have some more seasons to go through, but
keep watching the Warp Factor to see Ian's reaction, because for those of you who are watching this don't know, Ian has just started watching Star Trek: The Next Generation for the first time ever in his life, and he's been a huge Star Wars fan, so we're looping him into the Star Trek. We're trying to turn him into a Trekkie, Trekker, whatever you say. I think Trekker is more accurate. We'll have to talk about that one of these days.
All right.
So Valerian, sad that
it was sad beginnings. Is kind of died before it got off the ground, but again, it's still worth going to see in the movies at least once, and for its entertainment value and just the visual. I would like to see it in 3D. I mean, I bet 3D is pretty cool.
Yeah, now that because we saw it at just standard. Right. I think sometimes the 3D is a little bit distracting when I'm trying to focus on a film. Yeah. So we elected to watch it in just regular format. Yep. The 3D would probably be pretty sweet.
Well, we'll see what the world box office totals come in after a couple weekends. Yeah. So, absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll call this a show. So, Ian.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out here on the Warp Factor, my man.
Yep. Anytime. That was a good time.
Please be sure to subscribe to the Warp Factor and check out Ian because he's handsome. Handsome. I can hear you moving.
I know. I'm sorry.